So first, just tell me briefly about what your business is and what it does.
Yes, our business is it's Spec Furniture Inc. We've been in business for 31 years. We started in 1991, and we started as a four-person business, and we got into the market of manufacturing contract furniture for four different markets.
Okay, great. So what was the problem in the organization that you wanted to solve and what were the impacts of this problem?
We did sell the business to a another company in the furniture manufacturing business called Souter Manufacturing. So Spec Furniture is now, as of 2017, was a division of Sutter Manufacturing Incorporated. So what we had was I identified we had two cultures coming together, and how were they going to, integrate with this new company. Um, so that presented issues in regards to two cultures colliding and us not having tools in our toolbox to address the trauma that they were experiencing. And also, as we were coming along, then COVID hit. So we became not only a new division within a company, but then all of a sudden we started to send people home. Our business is manufacturing. So it was very difficult to manage through working from home in a manufacturing environment.
Okay. So what did you hope to achieve? Um like what were the things that you needed to create or the thing that you needed to happen to get that all of that resolved?
One of the things that we were trying to achieve was we recognized that we needed to develop some level of common language. We had people in front of us that were experiencing lots of changes. They didn't know how to deal with it. We didn't know how to deal with it. We had people, we're trying to build a team, but it seemed that we were almost working further apart from each other. Like we would use Teams and Zoom, but we were really finding like a level of disconnect um, within our personnel. And the other thing is we all may have had a different language, and we were really trying to get everybody to come back together, because it seemed that we separated so quickly and so fast because we had to. Our business itself, I mean, we sell into education and corporate, and it's about collaboration, but we didn't have tools to collaborate because everybody was at different levels within their experiences. And we were finding we were losing kind of um, people from just not communicating and not being connected. So we as a company invested in the disc training. And, that is very good. We know where you are and all those kind of things, and you can move around a little bit, but we didn't have any tools to learn about how do we deal with a dynamic situation. Like, why are people like this? And like, why are 1 minute they're okay, the next minute we got yelling and screaming going on, and this isn't how we operate. There was a lot of infighting between individuals. Um, we just didn't have connection.
Great, thanks. Um Kind of switching a little bit, how did you come across Able? And then what made you choose to work with them?
We have a couple employees from Herman Miller, and Herman Miller is a big supporter of ABL, right? So Kelly, one of the directors of marketing, said, "Hey, you know what? Like, I know you're looking for something, and this really kind of helped us at Herman Miller, and I thought this was really kind of neat." And she said they're putting on a free class. Would you like to attend? So I attended the class, and it was a free or webinar, I believe, that Leonie and Dan, and I think it was out of California. I think there was a hospital, and the gentleman who was presenting about how the language within that hospital. And I'm like, wait just a second. We actually do business with that hospital, right? They buy furniture from us. And I going, oh, so just his presentation about how the culture was changing. And then he began to talk about once his people were trained, when the language began to change, he kind of even took it outside of his company, the hospital system, and went into the communities. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So anyway, so I attended the class, and then it's like, but I think it was like maybe 10 minutes left. And then I'm like, okay, no, we're doing this. Right. So then I came across these certification classes. So I said, okay, I work with an executive coach that was doing some work with my people. And I talked to her about it. And I said, would you like to be the champion? We'll get certified together. I have a real interest level in this. So the Amelia, it was our champion at SPAC, took the certification course. We took it together. So then once we got certified, we decided to say, okay, how do we get this introduced into the SPEC family of companies and SPEC people? And we went on our journey. Um, so, I mean, I can talk about the journey now or later, but
Yeah,
that's what
actually,
we
that was my next question. I was going to say, okay, tell me a little bit about the journey to get in there. How did it go? Anything around that?
Yeah. So, during my certification course, and, I am 60 years old. So through DISC and through a lot of my other stuff that I've done, I didn't kind of understand where a lot of my stuff was driving from. So when I did my certification course and I actually had my profile done, the safety profile, it was like an epiphany for me. I was like, oh my goodness, my number one trigger showed up as fairness. Okay. And it just kind of brought everything together for me because I always felt like I was masking something. If something wasn't going well in a group environment, I would get angry or agitated, and I never really realized what was causing it. And I made my own assumptions that you just don't like it or whatever. But I never had it as a fairness. So as this stuff started coming out in my profile, I was like, this all makes sense. So it was self-awareness for me, and being, the executive of the company, I was able to put the disc and the ABL material in the dynamic, but allowed me a level of dynamics to understand, yes, fairness is my main trigger. The other triggers will trigger during situations that I get into. Here's a process to try to put yourself through in order to say, okay, stay calm, right? So it basically, the whole thing started to come together, and I'm like, okay, this is me. Right. And now I have tools where I can stop, and learn and be curious and not maybe go off on like an anger trail. So that's what I got from the program. And I felt so passionate about it, what it did for me at 60, that if I had had this information early or in my career, I may not have gone through as much angst, or I could have been a better leader. Or so I wanted to arm people who were coming up or who were younger to have these tools, because they made a difference for me in understanding it. And so again, this was a tool for us, we believed, of being able to continue to to develop and manufacture a high performance management team. So,
Okay, cool. Thanks. Um, can you talk about implementation?
so I worked very closely within a couple of interviews with Leonie. Um, you know, she asked me a lot of different questions. What was I trying to achieve? With that, we then developed a rollout plan. I mean, obviously, because I was the COO of the company, it was a matter of the yes, no decision. Decision was yes for me. I took it back to the executive team that we refer to as Team One, the directors, and said, listen, this is something I think is very important coming out of COVID. People need these tools. Amelia did a presentation to Team One. We opted to start with Team One. And we kept putting classes on like every quarter for the last 16 months. And we have up to 58 people have signed up out of 61 people of the target audience.
Wow.
None of them were forced. Like, it was word of mouth. So yeah, we had thought we would get in 1 year, 40% maybe. Now that was the goal I presented to the corporation, like the company. And we ended up like 90% in 18 months. So yeah, it has been well received here. Just to put it in perspective, we launched in 21 late into 22, 23 coming through. 23 was the best performance of the entire company because we have people working together. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But is it further ahead than where we were? Absolutely. We sold $55 million in sales. In the company's history, we have never been able to achieve a double-digit income, and we achieved a double-digit income. And the areas of target for people having to work together has like material costs, labor efficiencies, like are where we're getting those savings. And if we wouldn't have done this stuff together, get people working together, I don't believe we would have been where we are today. I think we've still been back in the tracks of 2021, 20, which were still good years, but we have hit plateau or hills that we did not think we could hit.
How would you say, is there, and just briefly, what evidence would you say that you have? Do you have like before and after metrics that showed change that you can attribute to what you've done through the program? Do you have anything like that that you could share that you feel that that's how you?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Number one is we went from having 2 meeting rooms, which were never full, to 5 meeting rooms, which are always full and always have people talking. There's a lot more collaboration, right? So visually we have the collaboration and they're not, and there's just so much activity because there's just more people together. Okay. There's that. We are seeing more involvement, employee engagement. Prior to 2023, our retention rate was 81%. Okay. Now there was a lot of attributes, but the reality, things like COVID and all that kind of stuff. However, we still always had a lower retention rate. We came through 2023 with a closure of 88% retention. And that retention rate in the office area, or like the staff level who have this training, is 98%. So we do know that this training has attributes to retention because people know that we care about their mental health. Our services, which we promote during the sessions, like mindfulness training, we have all of those services. We've always had all those services, but they were never used. After the training, those services have gone up from 1.7% to 29.6%. There's 9 classes that are related to NETs that will be held in the building, and the classes are full already. So we're encouraged by that because we've always had benefits. People have never used them. But now they understand the importance of these services and are reaching out and using them themselves. So we use that as a measurement. It's employee engagement is what we use as our measurement stick. And like I said, the other thing that is important is I do see people, the language within meetings, like there's a check-in in the meetings. How's everybody today? A 1-word check-in that's being used. And then you know, it kind of sets the tone for the meeting. There's a lot more collaboration within the meeting for people. And people also know that if something is going astray, we have a support mechanism, which is Amelia, and she just comes in and talks to people just about psychological safety. And then, how's it going for them? And Amelia has helped lead people outside of the regular services, like navigating home situations. So we give them that level of support too. And we've also discovered through this is we have 4 people with learning disabilities. We had no idea. And we're working with them and accommodating them and helping them. And they're so thankful for that.
So I have like a ton of other questions, but I think I'll just end with this one. If you had to tell another company, another CEO of another company, why they should do this, and you had to do it in 30 seconds, right? And incorporate whatever you want, whether that's, what your employees said, how you feel the company culture has changed, how you feel your numbers have been. You're talking to another CEO of a company and you say, you need to do this because you have 30 seconds. What would you say?
This ABL program will change your entire company. It's life altering. It's skills given to people that we are not taught and understood. And once these people understand it, the outcomes are going to just be off the charts. Your culture will change, your people will change. And this is a piece of product that you will be telling your people you care about them from a mental aspect side. And that is the number one thing in today's society is companies don't respect the mental health of their individuals. And once that's understood, those people will be there. They will stay because you care.
Thanks for putting thought into the questions and thanks for being so open. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem.